Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone and hello Mr. Hasbullah as second language acquisition and teaching lecturer. So today I will present about effect of personality and age on second language acquisition. But before I start this presentation, I would to introduce myself. My name is Karina Candra Sari and I'm from SLA class. So let's get started. So for the first point is effects of personality. Personality clearly influence someone's acquiring that new language. Can you just imagine if pessimistic people who says I can't speak English, why I need to learn that language? Why should I learn that language? Do you think he or she will acquire that language well? Because I don't think so. They themselves don't want to learn that language, so they will not acquire the language well. If you want to learn a new language or a second language, you need to manage where it's inside you. It's feeding on you, it's your personality, so you need to manage them. You need a willingness, you need to believe to yourself that you can learn the language. So that's it, the point. So for the first personality you need to have is self-confidence. Self-confidence is a foundation when you need to learn a new language. So the researchers have concluded that lower anxiety levels and tendency to be outgoing were connected with successful L2 acquisition. So when you have lower anxiety levels, you will easier to get to acquire the language itself, because learner needs to believe themselves to overcome challenges and persist their language journey. For the second personality you need have when you learn second language is empathy. Webster defines empathy as the capacity for participation in another feeling or idea. Learning language, it's mean you need to careful listening to someone. It's the empathy. You need to learn someone to acquire the language. Next is analytical tendencies. In this case, you need to know yourself what you are. Are you feel independent person or are you feel dependent person? Because the researchers have said that feel independent person often use their left brain or cognitive style, while feel dependent person perceives all part of the organized feel as a total experience. So it means feel independent person may be related to conscious learning. So what is conscious learning? Conscious learning is when the learner being aware of the learning process itself. The example is like when you learn grammatical in English, so you are aware what you do in that grammar. You afraid that you make mistake and so on. And the other hand, field independence may relate to subconscious learning. So subconscious learning occurs without the learners being aware of the learning process. It's happen when you talk with the native speakers. And for the last is personality and monitor use. So there are different types of learners based on how much they rely on roles. So it depends on their personality. It mentioned that the more self-confident and the less self-conscious the learner is, the less reliance he or she places on the monitor. So there is three types of the monitor users. So for the first type, it's overusers. Overusers is stick to strict rules too much, so they are really think that rules is important. For the second type is underusers. The underusers learn type is barely use the rules. And for the last type is optimal users. The optimal users balance both communication and rules. So more confident learners use the monitor less and communicate more naturally. So for the next point is effect of age. So there is fact that have mentioned that children are better acquiring the language. That facts is mentioned by researchers and scientists. So for the first explanation is proficiency based on age. First proficiency is pronunciation. It can take a assume that younger arrival had the least accent, but amount of time the subject spent in US didn't influence their accent. And for the second proficiency is grammar. It comes up with adult can learn grammar quickly because adults tend to focus with rules and structure, but child or children is not familiar with rules or structures. And then for the rate acquisition, children might end up with better accent because they learn it from their from their young, but typically adults learn the basic faster, especially in area like syntax or sentence structure and morphology, word form, because it have more structure. But children around age of 10 years old can sometimes be the fastest learner overall. So next explanation is about sources of age different, and there are several factors that make adult and children are different when they acquiring the second language. For the first factors is biological factors. It's clear that adult brain and children brain are different concerning language acquisition mechanism. Both children and adults can learn language subconsciously. So the brain development doesn't fully block adults to achieving good language skills. So age is not huge barrier. And for the second factor is cognitive factors. Adults can learn faster because they think more logically and they can analyze grammar rules too. But in the long run, kids or children often became better speakers because they learn more naturally. And then for the third factor is affective factors. Adults may feel conscious while children are more open. So it's allowing that children learn better language than adults in affective factors. And for the last factor is language environment differences. It's came up that adults manage conversation better and get more understandable input. Although the language directed at them at the adult is more complex. On the other hand, children receive simpler input, but they may not understand the language fully. So, in conclusion, both of them, children and adult, is can acquiring the second language. But children is faster than adult to acquiring the language. Children is better in speakers than adult when acquiring the second language, and in the other hand, adults are faster to learn a complex things like grammar, syntax, or morphology because they think complex and they can analyze the rule. So that's all the explanation of effect of personality and age on second language acquisition. That's all for me. See you next time and goodbye. Twing. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.